All our minds, we put the work in, we got some work, man.
Alright, what's up everyone? We are going to make a video of a knee-jerk reaction. Like I told y'all, this is kind of how I do things sometimes. I was just editing some videos, editing my Gunnersville video. I get a phone call from Hallman, and I only talked to him for like 2 minutes, right? And he was like, "Hey, I want to run something by you." I said, "Okay, let's hear it." He said he just got off the phone with a writer, a very respectable writer, a writer that I've dealt with before, a writer that I know. I've dealt with him a lot. I respect him a lot. I've always viewed him as different than a lot of the other writers because he thinks differently. He's, I'm not saying he's out there, but a lot of writers and people stay between these two lines, right? And they navigate between these two lines. He navigates outside those lines a lot. I feel like my story and what I do within this industry is outside the lines a lot. Like I don't follow the same path as everyone else. So I always kind of thought, you know, that we would connect in a weird sort of way because of that. But we really haven't. And we've had opportunities, but I've always been a little bit on the side of, I've always felt sometimes that since I wasn't some elite guy or a pro, all my life I felt like, oh, he can fish, but he's not that guy. And I felt it from guys, not around the guys I'm close to, definitely not them, and not guys that got to know me, but I think guys out on the outside looking in, I've always felt that way. And maybe I am. Maybe that's exactly how they portray me, and that's okay. Like I said, it's okay because I understand that they might feel that way, and it is what it is. So I kind of stay in my lane sometimes around them. With that being said, Hallman was trying to explain to him and kind of went over a little bit about what I actually do and what's going on and this elite berth, right? Like trying to make it to the elites. And like I said, the next thing you know, he had to go and I had to go, and he was like, "Hey man," the guy was like, "Man, I had no idea." So Hallman was like, "You might want to make a video. Like make a video maybe explaining maybe more of your situation because I don't think people understand." I said, "Okay." 10 minutes later, here I am making a video. This could be an hour-long video. It could be a 4-hour-long video. There's that much content, really. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible for you guys. And maybe, I don't expect everyone to understand. And that's okay. You don't have to understand it. I don't understand it. A lot of other people's thoughts on why they do certain things as well. And that's okay. It's all right to not understand it. But I'm going to do the best I can to explain why I've chosen, why a path has been chosen for me. Okay? Because it's not the path I chose. It's the path that's been chosen for me. And that's the main thing. I want y'all to remember that throughout this entire video if you want to watch it. It's the path that was chosen for me. I didn't necessarily choose it. When I started fishing, there was no blueprint on how to become a pro, right? And when I say pro, we're going to talk about like becoming an elite, FLW tour, whatever it was. I just wandered around until I figured it out. And the only way I could do that was fish a lot. The only way I could figure out how to make money, because I'm looking at the guys at the top and they're fishing for money in tournaments. I'm a little kid, high school kid, and I'm like, okay, well, that's what they're doing. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get in the tournaments I can fish. And that's what I did. And years after, and I had success doing it to where I was still able to fish every year based on the amount of money I made from tournaments. I didn't understand sponsors. Sponsors didn't care about some high school, college, 23-year-old that was fishing as much as he possibly could and doing pretty good. Sponsors just don't come knocking down your door. I could win 1 tournament a year. I could win 8 tournaments a year. No one ever cared. And so if they don't care, I just looked at it like, I don't care. Then I don't need y'all. I'm gonna go do. I don't need y'all, and y'all apparently don't want me. So I'm just gonna keep on doing what I need to do to make money, and that is fish tournaments, put up money, fish tournaments, and win money. And that's why my whole philosophy with when I look at tournaments and the payout structure and all that stuff is so important to me. I did it for years upon years upon years, and it was a struggle. And it's tough, and I don't recommend it to anyone to do it that way. I still don't know really how else other people do it, other than there's some money being filtered in through somewhere else, right? I don't know what that's like. I didn't know what that was like. I only knew that if I had to figure out how to get $150, $200 to enter a tournament, and then if I won $800, I could set that aside and get entry fees from that $800 and build. That's the only way I knew how to do it, was just build up. As this goes on and we win and do all these things, I'm so worried about trying to make it for the next 3 or 4 months that I can't look years down the road and look at the elites, because I'm like, I don't even know how to get there. It's so hard to just make it regionally, traveling around doing what I'm doing. So as years pass on and I'm just trying to make it in fishing, there are some other things. I was on the phone with my buddy the other day when we were talking about Strike Pro and about how the full circle has come around, and I'll explain that here in a second. But we just talked about the path that we both went down, and he's the only other guy I can talk to because he was with Strike Pro at the time when some stuff went down, and we had this phenomenal opportunity, and me and him both saw like what opportunity we could have with them in our vision of what we could do with baits and videos and all these things. I still didn't know how to do it though, and that all fell apart, not because of Strike Pro, but because of some other guys on the American side running it. So once again, I start back from ground zero again, trying to rebuild this bait thing and some other stuff, and I eventually got with Strike King through Phil Marks. Like I said, this wasn't the path I chose. It was the path chosen for me. I'd already qualified for the elites and years earlier and turned them down. I turned them down because I had to. I didn't have the money to do it. Hallman was one of the few guys that said, hey man, I don't think it's probably the right thing for you. He was 1,000% right. I would have gone into there with the worst boat in the world, with a freaking old truck, and I was already breaking down. I was breaking down in every event anyways. It wasn't till the next year that I won a boat and started winning Angler of the Years and making top 10s like crazy. It was because I had a newer boat. I actually borrowed boats in the opens when I qualified, because my boat was broke down in 2 out of the 3, or 1 out of the 3. It would have broke down in the 3rd when I borrowed a buddy's boat to go fish the 3rd one. So that was my path. That was the path I was going down. But now we're getting up in my 30s, and I've been dating my now wife for a while, and I never wanted to bring her down chasing this dream, this so-called dream of becoming an elite that I don't even really still to this day, or at the time, knew how to achieve. I didn't know how to get there because it was just so difficult. Because I was just like, well, I'm risking this much money to make this much money, but now I'm going to risk this much money. And yes, I could make this much money, but if I fail, or if I don't make it, or even if I do good, I might not even make enough money. Like, that was a part that I started realizing, because I sit there and look at all the numbers, right? They have the numbers. If you go look up FLW Tour when it was there, or the elites, you can see how much a guy makes in a year. I used to do that all the time when FLW was going around. And I look at the top 10 Angler of the Years out of 150, and I just do simple math going, well, he made 70 grand and he put up 30 grand, and let's put in 15 grand for expenses, which would be super low. And I'm like, he made $30,000. I didn't do the math. It would be like a $30,000 that he made from fishing tournaments. He put up 30, spent this much, and made 30. He put up 30 to make 30. And he was in the top 10 Angler of the Year. And I was going, what? That's insane to me. Because at the time, I was putting up at the most 30, but I was fishing 5 times as much, and I was making way more than 30, like profiting way more than 30. And I was going, the tour makes sense if it's paid for, but if I got to pay for it, it doesn't make sense. And the elites, and I was like, everyone's like, oh, well, sponsors will help you. Well, I qualified for the elites. Not one sponsor came up and asked to help. Okay, and I wasn't the only one. Like, they don't just come knocking down your door. They might now, I don't know. But at the time, no one came knocking down my door. And by the time when I qualified, it was in like October or something of it. I had like 1 month to figure out what I was going to do. Man, I wasn't risking it. So as this goes on, I just looked up and I was like, okay, go back to doing what I'm doing and just fish and get better. And I was fishing, getting better and doing all that. And then Strike King came along, and I figured out another niche in the business to make some money. And I loved that part of it. Like I was such a bait fanatic when it came to, like, not a tinkering guy, but I like to mess around with stuff that no one had. That was my deal. I like to fish different than everyone else, throwing baits that no one else had or no one knew what to do with, or fishing them differently. I just always wanted to veer away from what everyone else was doing. So when that opportunity came up, it was cool. And I had always been a guy that whenever I see everyone flip, I want to throw a frog, right? If everyone's flipping grass, I want to throw a swim bait. If everyone's doing that, I'm always doing that. Like, Guntersville is the prime example of that, right? I saw everyone fishing grass. I come from one of the best grass lakes in the country. And if you watch my video on it, my series, you're going to see what goes through my head and why I chose to do what I did. Okay? Because that's just how I operate. I run away from what everyone's doing. Now, that sounds bad when I'm about to talk about everyone trying to make the elites, but I didn't run from that. I just didn't know how to get there, and it didn't make sense to me or the tour. Now, eventually I got with Costa, and we got it in a good deal, and they helped me with the tour, and I fished it for 2 years. Had a blast. Didn't do as good as I thought I was going to do, but I qualified for the Cup both years. I made quite a bit of good money doing it, because when everything was paid for, I made 50, 60 grand a year, right? Just in fishing, because I won that much money. But then I was still fishing Toyotas. I was doing good in them. I was doing pretty good on the money side when that stuff got paid for. Because if that's all I had to do, man, this was easy. Like, fishing became easy. Just making checks, no problem. But then when that got taken away, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Now I got to put up all this much entry fee again, and it's not going to add up. It's not going to be adding up good. So I chose to stop fishing that and go to the opens. I knew when I fished them opens, it was the worst business decision I have made in fishing in probably 15 years. Like, I knew it going in. And I'd always told myself, don't do it. But the risk wasn't that big because of the entry fees, the traveling around and all that stuff. I knew I was going to lose money. And for 15 years or 18 years or 20, however long I've been fishing, I never made one of those bad decisions. I'm not saying this was a bad decision. I knew it was a decision that wasn't going to pay off in the form of money. And I still chose to do it. And I do not regret it. I did it, and what happened is it forced me in to not relying on a sponsor or an organization or anything. What it did was it showed me to put everything on me, which I've always done, but don't worry about their platforms promoting me. It forced me to figure out how to promote myself. And for that, I'm thankful I wouldn't fish the opens. I was thankful I fished with Hallman and Andrew and roomed with Scott and did all that, because I learned a lot. We all did at the same time. And when I walked away from it, when I say I walked away from, not from the opens, but when I got done throughout the year, and I saw what was in front of me, I was like, okay, I've got a new plan, and I've got a new outlook on what could happen. The elites the next year, I wanted to do, and I set out to do them, but I was not going to fish all of them again. It wasn't enjoyable in the sense of it was hard. I was away from my family a lot. I didn't make hardly any money. I lost money. I made money when I came back home and fished. You know, I made money when I came back home and fished regular tournaments. I could make money there, or not even back home. It's not like Rayburn, because these days I rarely make money on Rayburn. I usually make money on other lakes, like lakes I travel to, within the state or Oklahoma or wherever. Rarely is it Rayburn. So I ended up realizing, going, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And then the next thing I know, I was going along just perfect. And then all of a sudden we had some floods, and they started rearranging tournaments, and they put tournaments on top of other tournaments. And here I'm looking up going, okay, am I going to fish this open? Because it was right on a Toyota series on Rayburn. And I'm going, okay, now, all right, what am I going to do? Am I going to make another bad decision about traveling to another lake, trying to qualify for the elites, do all that stuff, when I got this Toyota series? And I fished 2 of them already, and I'm in contention for Angler of the Year. And I've got 3 Angler of the Years. I'm the only one that's got 3, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure anymore. I think maybe one other. I don't know, but I know almost no one has 3. And I'm sitting here going, I got a shot for my 4th Angler of the Year, which probably those Angler of the Years and the Toyotas are like my biggest. I feel a certain way about them, because it's a record that no one else has. And so I made that decision to forfeit my deposit in the Open and stay at home and fish locally, fish close to my house, not travel. And I went out there and I came in 4th in that event, made a whole bunch of money, and won my 4th Angler of the Year. Something that no one else has in the country. And that means a lot to me. It might not mean a lot to other people. It's not like it's a huge money deal. It's just, it's something that, man, they can't take that away from me, right? Like I said, it wasn't the path that I had chosen. I had chosen a different path that year. Someone else chose a different path for me. So as I keep going, I end up that year getting a check in all the Toyotas, made the championship, top 10. I fished 2 opens. I missed the first one. That was the first open. I fished the next 2 opens, made a check in both those, did good. Started off this year going, okay, I'm going to fish the 3 opens as well, and I'm going to fish the Toyotas. If I qualify for the elites, great. And if I don't, what am I out really? Like, am I a failure because I don't qualify for the elites, or because I'm not in the elites? Or do I look at it as, man, I'm doing really good, and I have this phenomenal job with Strike King that I never knew was a dream job. Like, it sounded like a dream job at one point in time, but how does someone become like head of innovation for Strike King? Are you kidding me? It's like, what? That is the dream job. And I get, and they allow me to fish and do everything else I'm doing. Like, who wouldn't want that? Now, I'm not saying I still wouldn't go fish the elites if the opportunity arose. I'm just not going out there giving up everything I've ever worked for to go fish 9 opens, make no money on the chance to do it. And I've been doing this for so long. I don't think people understand how many tournaments I fished for so long. I still fished 25 tournaments this year, right? 9 or 10 of them were like traveling for a week. That's like almost a straight up elite series year. And then I had 16 other tournaments on top of that. 16 other weekends that I went and fished a tournament. That's a lot of time away from the family. That's a lot of time missing stuff on weekends. That's a lot of time that I could be working on work. I'm doing YouTube videos. I'm doing a lot of stuff. But, and I'm pretty happy with it all. Like, I'm pretty content. Hallman made one comment. He told the guy, he was like, hey, look, Todd's not, his main goal isn't the elites. And Holman didn't put it that way. He was like, he's not that interested in the elites. I am that interested in the elites. I really am. Like it will, if I never fish them, it will be something that I look back on and go, I really wish I had of. Wish I had of. Wish I would have. Wish I would have. Really wish I would have. Wish though. It's a wish. My life's not going to be incomplete if I don't fish them. I would have liked to have seen what would happen. I don't know if that will ever happen now. Don't know. But I'm not going to put everything else aside for a wish and look back on it. I'll wish, and that's okay. I won't lose any sleep over it. I don't lose any sleep over it now. I think about it, and that's okay to think about some things, but I'm not gonna like regret it. Definitely won't regret it, because I tried to choose my path for so long, guys. I tried to choose my path, and I thought I had my path all laid out in front of me, and it never worked out. And every time I tried to do it, it went the wrong way. That's why I said my path was chosen for me, right? I eventually gave up my power of saying I'm going to do it this way, and I finally gave up all that and said, Lord, which way do you want me to go? And it's very easy. He showed me really quickly which way he wants me to go. He opens doors and he closes doors. That's why when you see me miss an open to go fish this, I had no regret. He closed that door and said, hey, this makes a lot more sense. Let's go this way. There was my chance to make the elites that year, and it worked out pretty good on this side. Won my 4th annual of the year. Hey, I didn't qualify for the elites this year. I thought I was on track, and even the last day on Rayburn, I did bad. A little upset, no big deal, right? And then I go to the Guntersville and I almost win that thing. And the last day I do bad. No big deal. Okay, he might not want me going in that direction. He's going to show me a lot of success on what I'm doing, but it's weird. It's always in another direction, sometimes away from the elites. Why I can sit back and go, why is he not on the elites? That's because that's what everyone else thinks is what success might be. Or they think that that's where their path has to take them, or they're not successful, right? Or they didn't accomplish their dreams, or whatever it might be. Because I know a lot of guys that have made the elites and they don't fish anymore. They've run out of money. I don't mind putting out this. Holman was on the elites and quit it. He wasn't happy. There are a lot of guys that aren't happy on the elites. So just because you get there doesn't mean you're going to be happy, successful, any of that. It just means you got there. That's all it really does. So I look back and go, okay, as of right now, and this might all change in 6 months. I don't know, right? But I'll give it to you for right now. Tournament season's over. I've got just about every single weekend from here for the next 2 months filled up with my kids' sports and coaching and watching games and doing all that stuff. I'm at the house making some videos. I got a ton to do with Strike King and doing a whole bunch of stuff with them. We've got all these new ideas and baits and everything coming out. Right? Not bad. It's not bad. I got a lot going on, and I'm pretty happy about it all. So I know everyone looks at some things as like, hey, this is if you're here, you made it. Listen, guys, I'm a lot older than what I used to be, and I used to say this at a young age. Around 30, when my life started changing, I would say it almost trying to convince myself that that's how I really was, and I did feel that way. But sitting here right now, I don't have to convince myself at all. It's pretty easy. He's shown me the way he wants me to go. Now that way might change at 45. He might open some doors up for me. Opportunities might arise, and he might push me straight towards the elites. And if he does, I'll go there. If it makes sense, and he's like, and I'll go there. But for right now, I'm good where I'm at, right? I'm good where I'm at because this is where he wants me. And I'm totally fine with that. That's why I'm not on the elites. That's why I'm not fishing all 9 opens next year. It won't change anything about how I view my fishing career. Maybe I have a different fishing career than everyone else. I already know I do. Not a lot of people can do and say they've done what I've done, fished the tournaments I have, won the tournaments, the Angler of the Years, the working for Strike King, doing. Man, it's pretty awesome. And I've made a lot of good friends along the way. I promise you guys, it would never have led me to this either. Would never have done YouTube, ever. I was anti-YouTube. But even when I fished the tour and they made us get those cameras, right? And they made us film, it made me figure out this. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. And the next thing you know, it's turned into this. Like I said, man, it opened up a door that I didn't even know was out there. So that's a little insight into my life and why I've chosen, right? Why this path has been chosen for me. Pretty simple, guys. Pretty cool too.
Find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling